The race of the century. That is what the men's 200-meter freestyle was billed as during the 2004 Athens Olympics. But did it live up to the hype? Let's break down the race itself and then take a look at why it has such a reputation that it seems that no race has been able to surpass it yet. Let's start things off with our three main competitors, Pieter van den Hogebaan, Ian Thorpe, and Michael Phelps. All three of these are remarkable athletes, and all of them are very legitimate threats to win this event. Van den Hogebaan was the fastest swimmer out of the semifinals with a 1:46 flat to give him the top seed going into the final. At this point, Van den Hogebaan is the former world record holder in this event. At the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, he won a time of 1:45.35 in the semifinals to break that world record. He would then go that exact same time to tie his 100th in the final and win gold, meaning that in addition to being the former world record holder, he's also the reigning Olympic champion, now looking to defend his title. Then in 2002, Van den Hogebaan would manage to drop time from his personal best and break 1:45 for the first time, swimming a time of 1:44.89. That swim is fast enough that even today he is still the 23rd fastest performer ever, and that's even after the reign of the supersuit era. Despite a new personal best in 2002, it was not a new world record, because by that point it had already been broken by the number 2 seed out of our semifinals in 2004, Ian Thorpe. Back in 2000, Thorpe came in second behind Van den Hogebaan in front of a home crowd in those Sydney Olympics, and going into those games, he was actually the world record holder himself with a time of 1:45.51. After Van den Hogebaan broke Thorpe's world record in the first semifinal, Thorpe responded by dropping a new personal best in the second semifinal with a time that was just 2/100 slower than the new world record. But then of course in the final, it was Pieter van den Hogebaan who got the final word, winning the Olympic title. The very next year, Ian Thorpe took that record back in a major way, beating Van den Hogebaan at their rematch at the 2001 World Championships, where he blasted a 1:44.06 for a new world record. And that is a swim that is fast enough for him to still be the 6th fastest performer in history. Thorpe would come out ahead again at the 2003 World Championships. At this point, Thorpe had the edge when it came to winning recently, but Van den Hogebaan never let him get that gold easily. Even if it was just these two, it would still be an incredibly exciting matchup. I mean, these are the two fastest swimmers in this event in history at this point, and the ones that have gone 1-2 in some order at the last Olympics and the last 2 World Championships. But joining them, we had the new kid on the block in this event, Michael Phelps. 2004 was Phelps' second ever Olympics, but his first Olympics while being a multi-event threat. When he was just 15 years old at the 2000 Olympics, he placed 5th in the 200 butterfly with a time that was very close to the bronze medal winning time. In the 4 years after that, Phelps got faster and faster, and by the time Athens rolled around, this was his first attempt at winning 8 gold medals, meaning that now he had added the 200 freestyle to his event lineup. While this was the first time that Phelps raced this event internationally, he wasn't exactly a stranger to this race, as he had been a member of the 800 free relay in the past. Leading off that relay at the 2003 World Championships, he got Team USA off to a big lead, ripping a time of 1:46.60. That time would have placed 3rd in the individual final and was only 17/100ths of a second away from Van den Hogebaan's silver medal winning time. With one more year of preparation, after Phelps had finally decided to specifically target this event, he could be a serious threat in Athens. With that, the stage is set. The race of the century is about to begin. All three of these swimmers have a very good shot at winning Olympic gold, but after 200 meters of swimming, only one would. In the first few strokes after the start, Thorpe had the slight lead, but Van den Hogebaan quickly took control. At the first turn, he had the lead and was under world record pace. Thorpe actually tied his world record split as he flipped in second. While he only had a slight lead at the 50, Van den Hogebaan decided that it wasn't enough and took off over the next 50. At the half, he was over a second under world record pace with an even bigger lead now. Thorpe made his move over the third 50 with the fastest split of the field. With 50 meters to go, he had closed the gap, but Van den Hogebaan still had a 2/10 lead. Off the final turn, Thorpe immediately popped up ahead, with Phelps now gaining some serious ground as well. On the final stretch, Thorpe had claimed a solid lead for first as Phelps was gaining on Van den Hogebaan. At the very end, Thorpe touched first, Van den Hogebaan in second, and Phelps Phelps in third. The race of the century was over, and it was Ian Thorpe who came out on top. Looking at the splits, we can see what set Thorpe apart from the other two. Van den Hogenbond undoubtedly has the edge on the first 100. He had the fastest two first 50 splits in the entire field, as we saw from his blistering pace, putting him well under world record pace at the second turn. Phelps, meanwhile, was the fastest swimmer over the final 50 meters, even closing the gap on Thorpe while he was leading at the very end. Thorpe had the fastest third 50. This is arguably the most important 50 split in the 200, so being the fastest here is a really good sign. As we saw, that's where Thorpe was able to cut significantly into Van den Hogenbond's lead. Most notable is the way that Ian Thorpe manages to perfectly ride the line between opening speed and closing speed. Even though he didn't have the fastest first or second 50, he didn't majorly sacrifice either half of the race, which allowed him to be the most consistent in the field. Thorpe's gold medal winning time of 1:44.71 is still incredibly fast even by today's standards, which is something that is really hard to say about any swims from 2004. In fact, it would have even won gold at the Paris Olympics. It also would have been second in 2008, 2012, and 2016, as well as fifth in 2021. But what makes this race so notable in the sport's history even through to today? I mean, it's incredibly ambitious to call something the race of the century 4 years into that century. I think the biggest factor is just how many storylines are packed into this race. I mean, first, you have a very unique dynamic between the three lead swimmers. Phelps is a legend in the making, already a great swimmer, but as we know now, a few years away from his absolute peak. Meanwhile, Thorpe and Van den Hogenbond are already established legends. In fact, each of them have already broken this very world record previously. And that's another story thread, the rematch. Thorpe was the favorite going into the Sydney Olympics as the reigning world record holder, but not only did Van den Hogenbond win the gold instead, he also broke his world record twice. While Thorpe got the better of Van den Hogenbond during their next two clashes at the World Championships and took back the world record, it's not quite the same as getting that Olympic crown. Meanwhile, this was the first year that Phelps was targeting 8 gold medals, and the media buzz that surrounded that quest amplified the attention that this race got even more. And while Phelps in the American 400 free relay placed third on the very first night and ended the quest for 8 gold medals, it still had some extra stakes for this race. That's because the record that Phelps was chasing was Mark Spitz's 7 golds in 1972, meaning that even with the relay bronze, if he won this race, the hope would still be alive to at least tie that record. With these storylines, another thing that makes this field so special is the sheer prestige that accompanies it. All three of these swimmers are currently reigning world record holders at the time of this race, and all three of them either have won or will win individual Olympic gold medals in these Olympics. Seeing such titanic champions from all different events all meet and collide in one event is always something special, especially when they're swimmers as legendary as these three. The final reason I think this race is so iconic is because of that word right there. Race. Going into it, all three swimmers had very legitimate chances to win. Well, yeah, going into it, Thorpe probably was the favorite. Either one of the other two could have taken him down, and it wouldn't have been an insane upset. That dynamic continued into the water as well. The race itself was incredibly thrilling, with Van den Hogenbond blasting off with Thorpe in pursuit. Thorpe gets the lead, but then Phelps is charging home. It's all very exciting, and I think a key reason as to why this race is so well remembered. If Thorpe had just blown the entire field away, I don't think it would be as memorable. Now, you could easily make the argument that there are races that have come before or since that are actually better. At the end of the day, it is a matter of opinion, and an easy argument to make is the fact that there was no world record set here. So you could argue that any race that features a world record is technically better. And we have seen some incredibly stacked fields in other races before. In recent years in the women's 400 freestyle, the field of Ariane Titmus, Summer McIntosh, and Katie Ledecky actually has some remarkable parallels to the swimmers in the race of the century. But for me, there hasn't been a race that balances the strength of the field, the storyline around the race, and the way the race actually plays out in the water all together the way that the men's 200 freestyle in Athens has. But what do you think? Is there a race in the sport's history that you think is actually better? Or what about even just a single standout performance? Because if that's the metric, my pick would certainly change. Let me know down below.